On behalf of TCS ION, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Innovation in communication technology has become unavoidable in our day-to-day activities, and it has also especially revolutionized how people communicate with each other. Communication technology has even taken a life of its own, which has yet evolved from the instant messaging that we popularly call as IM on a desktop to video calls now. We are increasingly more on track for a world that is at greater digitization. As time goes on, more emerging technologies will change the way we communicate, and it will be up to us to embrace them or not. It is my pleasure and an honor to welcome and introduce our guest speaker, Captain Dr. Dinisha Bharadwaj Singh. She is an Indian Army officer turned educationist, having experience of around 24 years in the field of school education and training. After serving for 10 years in Elite Defence Force of India, currently she is heading Global Indian International School in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and is a board member in various organizations at international forum working on growth and development of education and society. Presently, she is holding the position of principal at Global Indian International School, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. She is PhD, Management, Law and Physics graduate. On one side, while she has worked in depth for education from Northeast to almost all parts of the country and abroad, she experienced adventure activities starting from paragliding to rafting, rock climbing, horse riding, camel expeditions and trekking. She has presented papers in national and international seminars and has been a panelist, keynote speaker and moderator on various online and offline forums, along with being a leadership and motivational speaker. She has enjoyed being casual announcer in All India Radio Shillong. Work is her passion, and she is still extending support to various groups in Indore, Shillong, Delhi and in Malaysia. She has been honored with 6 medals in Indian Army and 7 awards for her contribution in sector of educational leadership and social work from various renowned forums and organizations of India. We welcome you, Captain Dinisha.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
I think it's an absolute honor to have someone with such a very wide array of expertise with her and experience with her. So I would like to quickly delve into the topic that we have for today for discussion. Why do you think communication skills are so important in technology-enabled world, and how technology is enabling and changing communication?
Thank you very much, Mary, for having me here. And this topic is very close to my heart because communication is lifeline to any success, whatever field, wherever we are and whatever we desire. So coming on to question as to how communication is important in this tech-enabled world. I just want to tell you that, with the technology enabling us onto various forums, only the mode of communication has changed. How it has changed, it has become faster. There are various forums, there are various platforms which are available to us, like online communication, mailing, blogs, and there are various apps which are available to interact. So there are various options available. The mode of communication has changed. But when we talk about communication, I think somehow the definition remains same. If I'm telling you something or we two are interacting, it is the way I'm communicating to you, you will receive almost the same way. So this is very important to understand the process of communication when we are talking about communicating, whether it is tech-enabled world and or not. Though I'll focus onto this technology keeping in center, because there are certain ways where we are being trained to, or we are using when we are using technology for the purpose of communication. There is a book I was going through which talked about leading IT transformation, a roadmap to success. Because till COVID era, we were using technology as the support system. But after this COVID era started, we are using technology as main mode of our work. Many of the offices and organizations have absolutely come online, and the mode of communication is technology. Now, how we are communicating, mostly through mail, that is a very official way of communication. Then mass communication, or to groups, we are communicating through blogs and all, where there are even less number of words are required to be communicated, 140 words in Twitter or something like that. So then there are certain terminologies, there are different styles, key shortcuts, or IT lingo, which we call, which we are using to communicate in despite using less number of words, we are communicating what we are designing and thinking to communicate. So these are the basic concepts of communication in tech enabled world, but the major concept of communication remains same. We need to have all those skills, all those techniques and tactics, because ultimately we are communicating to humans. Unless I'm communicating and your mail is downloaded and some robo is acting upon that mail, then it is okay. Then just keeping that in mind, at time you have to be very concise, you have to be very clear in your content writing, you have to be very appropriate to design whatever you are telling, so that robot will pick up and artificial intelligence will devise it and convert into the action plan and all. So with that, we will restrict to these designs and regulations. But if we are coming on to humans, we have to follow certain guidelines, which actually are the soul of communication.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your briefing note on that. That brings me to the next question. As you mentioned, during COVID era, a lot of us have to shift willingly or reluctantly over to online or digital modes of communication. What sub-skills, competencies, and attributes of communication become more important and need more skilling so that people can communicate actively and effectively in a digital environment?
Again, I'll answer your question in two segments. One is sub-skills. When we are talking about the process of communication, that is what you are trying to tell, or what you are trying to pass it on to the other party. Mm-hmm. So those sub-skills are the mail composition sub-skills, or writing your content in a concise, clear manner, and it should have clarity, it should have the desired inputs required, it should have the expectations from the other side. But just since I have already spoken on this, keeping this aside, there are certain sub-skills which are required as a human to be understood, to be used as far as communication is concerned. And what those are, the main sub-skill which I consider, which is very important, is clarity of thoughts, which anyone has to have when you are communicating to others, so that there is no wastage of time and the purpose is fulfilled. Then another sub-skill as a human is your emotional intelligence. Because again, we are not communicating to robots, we are communicating to humans. So it is what you are judging from the situation when you are having face-to-face communication, or what you are analyzing, how you are analyzing the situation, the empathetic view to a particular situation, open-mindedness. If we are interacting, if we are talking on some segment or some forum, then how we are expressing ourselves, what is tone of my interaction. These are certain sub-skills which are very, very important. And another skill which is lifeline of communication is listening skill. If I'm communicating, I expect only you keep listening. I should have that skill in me as well, as to what you are trying to tell me. And there is no assumption left. Whatever is being communicated is concise and clear, and then whatever is understood by me is in tandem with the ideas and thoughts which you are floating in. So that is very, very important. And also, suppose there are two parties which are interacting. So maybe somewhere the other party or your client or the person whom you're speaking to is not very right. Maybe can happen because there are individual differences. So one has to have a skill of great diplomacy to change the situation and express without hurting, without disrespecting, that yes, there you are, and this, wow, wonderfully brought in, but this, if that can be added, that is very important. And to do that, there is one very important skill which is required, is a rapport building. There has to be expression, there has to be some way of presentation when two people, despite they are not on present face to face, they are able to build a rapport with each other. It has to start with one person. So if both of them have, the process will come soon. So there are certain, to sum up, I would like to say, there are certain characteristics which are very important. For that, you have to be actually competitive for whatever you are communicating for. The purpose you are here, you have to be really competitive. It is also understood like 7 C's of effective communication. It is, you have to be really competitive, you have to be concise to the point, well with the process and procedure. You have to be considerate for the other party and understanding level, and so many other factors which you need to, because you are the face of the organization that time. You have to be very concrete. And then, of course, as I again highlight, it is human to human communication. You have to be courteous. That is very important. Irrespective of what you do and what is the other person doing, what purpose you are serving, you have to be very courteous, but still very clear onto your communication level without any ambiguity. So these 7 C's I would like to repeat for understanding and for better kind of adaptation by all those who are listening to it. It is competitiveness, it is conciseness, it is being considerate, it is concrete, it is courteous, it is clarity, and it is correctness. These are certain consolidated sub-skills, or you can say traits for effective communication, which are very important. If we miss even one of them, somewhere the 100% communication will not happen. So we need to take care of these skills when we are communicating, so that the very purpose is served.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. I think you very rightly mentioned rapport building and listening also a part of communication. What people often forget is that these things are a very crucial part in communication, because especially now that we do not see anybody face to face, maybe through video calls or mostly audio and emails, that brings me to the next question. What role does body language play in a tech-enabled world? Does loss of eye contact while virtually communicating create issues? Please share your thoughts on this, ma'am.
You asked a very appropriate question, which I had been facing when we were on to virtual platform, and our schools went virtual, where parents had a lot of resistance. And it is not only school to parents to teachers, it is to across the world, to everyone possible, because we are all online on virtual platform. Body language is very, very important in any form of communication, whether it is face-to-face communication, of course, yes. But even if it is a virtual communication, it plays a great role. As you said it, eye contact, or for that matter, my expressions. If I am talking to you and you are very stern, I'll feel, whatever my confidence level is, whatever my strength is, whatever position I am holding, for a while I'll not feel satisfied. Say either I feel I'm not talking to a right person, or I'll feel maybe somewhere I am wrong. So body language plays a great role. Here I would divide body language in 2 parts. One is, of course, body language as we define body language, and even it is a life skill. I speak on life skills. I was speaking on one forum, and there was a question, and the concern was body language. So ultimately, it was justified that body language plays a great and eminent role in any success and any communication. So I'll divide it in 2 parts. One is the body language on virtual platform. Now, when we are interacting, what is the norm of body language when we are having a virtual forum to communicate? So coming on to that, it is when I'm talking to you, the position of my camera, how far I am from camera. I come so close. You will feel little uneasy. It won't make a much difference, but you will feel little uneasy. And then how I'm moving my hands should be visible to you. If I'm moving my hands, it is going up and down, you don't know what gesture I'm making. So this is a defined body language on virtual platform. If you are talking something and if I look that side, that is my body language. That makes you feel uncomfortable, means I'm not interested in your conversation. You will feel different if I lean forward or I lean back. If I put like this, then you will feel that, okay, I'm trying to understand. If I lean back and look upwards or something, then you will feel maybe whatever you're communicating is not appropriately received. When I'm speaking and you are listening, so then that is also part of the body language, how much pause I give, or how fast I speak, or should I wait for your reaction and go forward. So this is all expressions and body language when we talk on virtual platform. Coming on to physical platform, my posture, if I'm sitting like hands crossed, this is called a blockage mode. It means, somehow I give myself importance. I don't care for you. My gestures, I'm nodding to you. You will feel more interested to talk to me. If I'm just blank, if I'm looking into your eyes, the communication is in a better way, as you brought in the beginning. Or if initially when we started our classes, we were not knowing how parents and children will react. So we told them, and of course signal strength and all, we said nobody will put on camera. But then we realized, no, the impact has to go on more. And then we started telling them to put the cameras on. And that made a tremendous difference. And then of course, when we are face to face, then your touch, your expressions, if it is clearly visible, they make a lot of difference. But on virtual platform and physical platform, one thing which makes a difference always is your tone, your voice and tone. How you are fluctuating, how you're talking. Is it loud? Is it arrogant? Or is it very warm? It does make a difference. So in nutshell, if I consolidate, yes, body language plays a great role in any communication, and we got to be very careful. As much as I want to receive from you, I should be ready to give it to the forum, so that the desired outcome is achieved. It plays a great role.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think one of my professors always used to say when he taught communication, what pulls people to you and what pushes them away is always your body language. So it plays a very, very important role. Now, when we talk about teachers, you mentioned when you moved on to the online mode of teaching, the kind of issues you faced. So now when we are specifically dealing with educators who have not been trained a lot on, communication or how to have your postures, as opposed to corporates who have been trained on that, usually we do get training. A core part of teaching is communication. What tips and best practices would you like to share for educators to make virtual communications more effective for teaching?
Yeah, this is what I had been seeing for almost 8-9 months for now, and a lot of inputs I have on this. Communication is key to any level of success, and especially when it is teacher and student interaction. It is a learning going home, and unless teacher is able to communicate in a desired fashion, the purpose is not served. So first of all, what I feel and what we have done technically is trained our teachers. After training them onto technical part of virtual pattern and classroom fashion, we went on to teaching them the communication traits as to, you got to be enriched with your content. You need to be proactive onto taking any interaction. You have to be empathetic in classroom. You got to listen to students, because it has to be a two-way process. In classroom also we expect that. It cannot be a lecture method. It has to be an interactive class. And constructive questioning, being concise to the topic, don't go haywire to the topic, and you got to be a strong pillar in classroom. These were certain traits which we taught to our teachers, and simultaneously, when we talk about teaching learning process, we do talk about a theory which is called Bloom's taxonomy. And Bloom's taxonomy talks about, in nutshell, and I'll tell you, though it has got 7-8 platforms, I'll talk about 4 basic platforms, that is knowledge, understanding, application, and analysis. So first of all, about knowledge. There are 3 segments which teachers, I feel, and technically also be analyzed and researched. Dissemination of knowledge has to be clear cut. Teachers need to communicate in such a way that whatever is your lesson plan, whatever you came with the purpose in a particular class with your objectives, those objectives to be clearly followed, used, and brought back to the class lesson dissemination, and they should be received in the same way. That is number 1 for knowledge aspect. Then why you are giving this knowledge in classroom? To transform the behavior, to shape the students. So to shape the opinions and influence the students, you need to develop some level of understanding in classroom. How do you develop that understanding? Understanding is not that I tell something to students and they will understand. There has to be something which is part of a very, very important part of a communication is connect. Unless I connect with you, whether you call it empathy, whether you call it social connect, whether you call it body language, but I have to connect with you. I have to use various resources to connect with the student as a teacher. So that connect is very important for understanding level. And then, when you are connected, when we are connected, when we are talking to each other, then I develop interest in you. Then I develop interest in your listening. And then similarly, you will develop interest in whatever I'm speaking. So that level of interest, what it will do? It will motivate to students. A connect generates a level of interest from knowledge to understanding to motivation. Now, when the students are motivated in classroom, going back to the Bloom's taxonomy, that will develop what? Then they are motivated, they want to do more. They want to learn, they want to go hands-on. And that comes to application part of it. How do I see how the current flows? How do I go and check it at home? So that level is generated. And then simultaneously, ultimately what it is, it has to be coming on exam platform, and it has to be coming ultimately for analysis, that children can develop their own instincts to analyze what they are learning, and then they can create and synthesize too. Ultimately, synthesis, that is the final level of learning. So for that, it is communication from teacher. There are various myths which came up, which I have tackled, which I'm sure various educators might have tackled, that, when we are having a social platform on, that we are having a virtual platform on teaching, social interaction will be less. No, it is not less, it is more. Student is sitting at home. Student is most comfortable in classroom. The student is in an alien place. I'm just educating that so that, because we have come on virtual, let us not take it as a burden. It is a great opportunity. So it gives you more social connect. Student is very comfortable. He is in his own environment. There is a lack of physical contact. So students are learning less. No, when teachers are using these communication skills to disseminate knowledge, they are connecting to students, they are talking to them. On a teacher's camera, there are students. On every student's screen, there is a teacher visible as close as 1.5 feet of distance, whereas last bencher was seeing teacher from I don't know how many feet of distance. Isn't it a better opportunity? So it is giving a close connect. Then another thing was there that teacher doesn't have control. Much control. I can tell you, I build a rapport with you. I show good with my body language, you receive me well. And then, there is no communication, two-way communication happening. I stand by it. It happens, and we covered lessons faster than the regular classroom lessons. So all the gap in teaching learning process has been built, has been bridged by one thing called communication. A correct communication can eradicate all the barriers, whether the platform is new, whether the platform has come because of certain calamity, or the platform has come as invention. Let us take it as invention. Let us take it as a great positivity which has come to all of us. It was part of only corporate bodies. Now it is with us. And there are many best practices where teachers interacted, teachers played with students in virtual classroom, they celebrated birthdays in classroom, and they sang a song, they did exercise with them, they chatted, and then the classroom was an effective classroom. So ultimately, built in a strong communication, and it is highly effective.
Thank you. I think it was very motivational and inspirational for the rest of the educators who'd be watching this video also, because both the teachers and students are in their comfort zones, and usually people do better when they are more comfortable with the surroundings, and it's for a very good learning experience as well. Earlier, you had mentioned about one aspect being constant in both communication on a digital mode or on a physical level. That was the tone, the voice. So, what is the significance of formal versus informal language in communication? Do articulation, voice quality, tone, that is intonation, and pronunciation make communication more effective?
Absolutely, it does make communication more effective. There are two modes, as you said, formal and informal language of communication. What happens is in formal, as when we communicate, whether we write mail or whether we interact face to face, we don't generally use first person communication language. We don't use the word I. We use, as an organization, a set of we or similar content like that. So it becomes more formal selection of words. No colloquial language is required to be used, or rather should not be used in formal communication, because formal communication is for the purpose of record, or you're writing to higher ups, you're writing to communicating to different organizations for the first time, when you are making them understand what you are doing. And informal, on the contrary, is a communication where you are following up, you are catching up with them, you are catching up with different teams. We instead of writing, we need to follow it up in a time limited zone. We say ASAP, like that. So many colloquial terms which we use, which we are using in our normal communication. So that is formal and informal communication, which holds water in different segments in different way, and it holds great importance. In when we need to use formal communication, if you use informal, it will be negative. On the contrary, when we used to interact informally and we use formal communication language, that will also not be very fruitful, because then we are connecting person to person, and the importance has to be understood with ingenuity. There is no written norms onto that, but yes, we all understand when to use a formal communication and when to use informal communication. Now, coming on to your note or tone of the language, the pitch, the speech, that plays a great role in communication, because what happens is your voice quality, is it very shrilling, is the volume high, how you're pronouncing a particular word. If it is wrongly pronounced, maybe it is communicating a different meaning. It holds a lot of importance, like this. Suppose you are coming and talking to me, you are Danisha, or you are Mary. You are Mary. Oh, you are Mary. These three different tones will put you in a different reaction, First, I'm trying to say, wow. I mean, I'm kind of welcoming. You are Mary. Means probably I wanted to meet you. Second is I'm questioning. You are Mary. I mean, how come you are here, or something like that. Or third, I'm questioning you. It means somewhere arrogance is coming as to, why you are there, or I was searching for you for something wrong, like that. So one simple sentence spoken in three different ways give three different meanings. So speech, your tone, your pattern, your utterance, your pitch, everything makes a difference in communication. And that is the reason that as you said, corporate bodies, all of us go for training for this purpose, as to how to interact, how to communicate. Hospitality industry has got a different set of trainings for them, because they are following those different norms. You have to be very polite and warm. Whereas armed forces follow a different tone altogether, where they are training, and you will find all of a sudden that there is a jerk. If you have watched some parade or somewhere with the armed forces, I'm from armed forces, so I can tell you, you'll be surprised. So the person will come, "Good morning, sir." So you will feel, oh my God, what has happened? So it depends upon which organization we belong to and what is the protocol to be followed in communication in that particular organization, and are you following that at a right time. In Indian Army, we say a few things. I'll just cut down the rest of it. Two things I'll just say: right time, right tone, and right way of interaction. We do talk about right dress and right procedure. I'm just cutting it off. So right tone at right place. What is the purpose of your communication? You use that tone. If it is instructional, if I'm an examination in charge and I'm passing instructions, then in that case I will be little firm. If I'm in hospitality industry, I'm same instructions I'm passing to you, but I'll be more humble and warm. So it does make a difference. Not only make a difference, it makes a great difference to the impact and output of communication. And that has to be, people have to be trained, and that has to be taken due care if we actually want the desired impact of our communication on other party or other person.
That's very right, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'm sure even as a teacher in a classroom or in a digital platform, would have to take different approaches when they are scolding a kid for not submitting an assignment, to when they are actually being caring and nurturing towards, explaining a particular concept with a lot of patience. So for all the teachers and educators who have been viewing this with us today, I am sure that this session would have given them various little nuggets or tips and best practices for them to go back and practice their sessions in a classroom setup, maybe physical mode or maybe in an online mode. So thank you very much, Dr. Ganesha Bharadwaj. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you today, especially on communication, because it's one of the topics that is close to my heart. Because even I, as a person, communicate with a lot of professors across the country. So I'm usually very mindful of the way I look or the way I talk or way I am being perceived by others. And I'm very, very sure that all the people viewing this today also would have equally benefited from this session. So thank you very much for taking your time out to speak to us today, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mary, for having me, because this topic is equally close to my heart, because I believe the first thing we do is we communicate when we meet, whether we are meeting on virtual platform or on social platform or face to face. And the way we communicate decides how we build relations further and what is our success level going to be in future. So it makes a lot of difference. Do take care, do understand, and I'm sure the success is all ours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.